Our next speakers will lead us on this discussion of regulatory developments in the digital asset industry in Mauritius. We do have Rajiv Babooram, who's the lead professional at the Economic Development Board in Mauritius, and Mr. Issa Mohamad Soormally, who is the vice chairman of the Economic Development Board. And some nice color on Mr. Soormally. He also used to work at the Central Bank of Mauritius and has also done quite a bit of work with the governor of the Seychelles. And with that, his experience on government and working for public institutions complemented quite nicely with his experience of also working in commercial institutions, having a 25-year background there. So I'd like to welcome both gentlemen onto the stage right now. If you can just help me do so with a warm applause.
Ms. Sonia Colonel, Director of Bitcoin Events, fellow CEOs, leaders of banking and fintech companies across the globe with us today. Dr. Prega Ramsamy, Senior Executive, EDB South Africa. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. I know the lunch has been a bit heavy, but I'll try to make it more interactive so that we can speak. So at the very outset, let me congratulate Bitcoin Events for having invited Mauritius to be part of the 9th edition of the Blockchain Africa Conference, which started yesterday. We will today present to you our Mauritian jurisdiction, the progress achieved in fintech through a presentation and a short clip on Mauritius. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to address this audience and outstanding speakers that we had during the 2 days. You are our global thinkers in tech, regulators and market disruptors who are shaping the future of a new era across Africa and the globe. On the global front, last week, and it is quite soon to react to the failure of major US banks, namely Silicon Valley and Signature Bank. However, key lessons are to be learned promptly on the governance, risk management aspect, as well as avoiding over-concentration in that new emerging tech industry. This forum comes at the right time, as Mauritius has recently introduced a series of new licenses to regulate virtual asset service providers, which is at the heart of digital transformation strategy of my country. As a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Mauritius, I have witnessed a rapid evolution in the banking and technology environment. The advent of digital transformation has highly impacted the way clients as well as regulators view the banking and financial sector services. There is a definite rethinking of laws, policy, and guidelines across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, blockchain technology, bitcoins, artificial intelligence, open banking are words that never existed in the dictionary a few decades ago. Am I right? But today, new technologies and artificial intelligence are playing a fundamental role in the way we transact and conduct business in all spheres of activities. Ladies and gentlemen, before I elaborate further on today's topic, allow me to share a quote from our beloved Madiba. "Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." This saying echoes the history of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean, small island country. We have faced numerous challenges, but time and time again, we have been resilient to navigate through adversity and bounce back even stronger. The prevailing global economic environment has forced us to reinvent ourselves. In fact, the pandemic has been at the forefront of our digital transformation as a country, a very rare blessing of the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Mauritius over the past couple of years has embarked into a full digital transformation strategy and announced a series of measures to welcome fintech activities. Coupled with the government initiatives, the central bank and the Financial Services Commission, the two regulators, have allowed its licensees to experiment with fintech, regtech, and other innovation to drive the banking and financial services sector. Our regulators are collaborating on numerous avenues to enhance the framework for regulatory sandbox authorization. And it is very good to point that the banking sector in Mauritius has welcomed the fintech area very well. And that has been one of the success stories of Mauritius, being when the commercial bankers understand regulatory and fintech activities. And I think in many countries, that is also a key point to be noted. Additionally, I'm pleased to share with you that the virtual assets and initial token offering services, the AC 2021, has positioned Mauritius as one of the few countries to be in compliance with all 40 Financial Action Task Force, FATF, recommendation global fintech companies dealing with digital assets and have shown significant interest in the Mauritian jurisdiction. Let me tell you that during the COVID, Mauritius went on the grey list of the OECD, and we have been one of the countries worldwide to be coming out of the list in record time that no other countries have done. Today we have 12 countries on the list, inclusive of South Africa, even Dubai. And to get out of this grey list is very, very difficult. And we are here to showcase some of the things that we have done right for regulators, bankers, and also people in the fintech to understand. We are cooperating with the government of South Africa and other governments across the world to show them how to do things from the regulatory perspective. The Bank of Mauritius has taken a step further in innovation by working towards the establishment of Fintech Innovation Hub and digital labs. This initiative will undoubtedly boost further the development of fintech and support the 2030 digital transformation plan for Mauritius as a regional fintech hub and welcome new market players. Ladies and gentlemen, furthermore, to accelerate the country's move to an age of digitally enabled economic growth, the Bank of Mauritius has implemented a conducive licensing and regulatory framework for digital banks and set up various task forces to demystify this new advent of technology and finance. Well-established foreign banks have shown strong interest in the digital space, and new private banking guidelines have been launched in December 2021. This year, the Bank of Mauritius is launching the central bank digital currency. This digital money will transform the financial sector to a more efficient, exclusive, cashless society. According to the World Economic Forum, digital currencies will make cross-border payments seamless. It will also provide an alternative credit information for credit finance and solve the $1.7 trillion gap in the trade finance space, which impacts heavily on SMEs who typically do not have established financial records with banks. Furthermore, digital currencies could alleviate the issues of de-risking. Emerging markets such as Africa and lower income countries stands to gain the most from this paradigm shift. On a conclusive note, I wish to reiterate that Mauritius remains an attractive proposition through its reliability, efficiency, and security. We are an open economy for foreign talents and present a well-balanced ecosystem for growth and work-life balance. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish also to inform you that in South Africa and Kenya, because I met some people from Kenya, we are present and we do the promotion and business facilitation. We have today Dr. Prega Ramsamy, our senior executive based in Gauteng. Since 20 years he's been in South Africa, and he's here to take any question or facilitate any business after that forum or anytime you want. And now I have the pleasure to invite Rajiv Babooram. Rajiv works directly in the economic division, has been in diplomacy, but also Rajiv is an expert in fintech and has been tremendous to set up the 5 licenses that have just been launched last year, and also enacted a law in Parliament where the government took the commitment towards the fintech industry and digital transformation. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Good afternoon. So my topic today will be on the regulatory developments in the digital assets industry. So before we talk about the digital assets landscape, let us take a look at what's happening in Africa from a fintech perspective. As you probably all know, Africa has one of the largest unbanked population, and there is rapid adoption for technology. Africans are tech savvy, that is, they are not scared to use new technologies. In terms of unicorns, 6 years ago, there were no unicorns in Africa. But today, I think there's over 7 unicorns in Africa, out of which 5 of them are in the fintech sector. VC investments, there is growing investments from venture capital investors in Africa, which is a very good sign, which shows the prosperity of the fintech sector. Remittance, this is a booming industry, and according to the World Bank, 49 billion worth of transactions were in the remittance activities. Digital assets trading, this is picking up very fast. Yesterday, we all have seen how Pick n Pay, which is one of the largest retailer in South Africa, where they are now accepting Bitcoins as a form of payment. And according to chain analysis, the monthly trading volumes in digital assets is around $20 billion. So how can Mauritius add value to your fintech company? Let's say tomorrow you have a business that you want to expand in other African countries. Well, from Mauritius, we are ranked first in Africa in information technology. Our laws for data protection are compliant with the EU, the GDPR, and we have a pool of qualified staff in the IT and financial services professionals all ready to help your business to grow in Africa. From a connectivity perspective, we have high capacity for fiber optic connectivity, and some parts of the island have fiber optic connectivity and 5G connectivity as well. So this slide summarizes our fintech evolution. As you can see, in 2016, we introduced the regulatory sandbox license to allow innovative companies to operate, even though we did not have the regulatory framework. Looking back, we have come a long way. You will see a number of licenses have been introduced, whether peer-to-peer lending, crowdfunding rules, new license related to digital banking, and now we'll be launching the CBDC. But I think the major breakthrough was in 2021, when we introduced the Virtual Assets and Initial Token Offering Services Act, which is known as the VITUS. So what is the VITUS? Well, the Vitus law is a comprehensive legislation which regulates virtual asset service providers, and issuers of ITOs. There are 5 classes of licenses, which is called Maurice, and we'll go through that in the next slide. But before we elaborate on the licenses, let me share with you how we actually came up with this new license. This license comes as a result of Recommendation 15 of FATF, which requires virtual asset service providers to be regulated for AML and CFT purposes. Now, this new legislation, at the core, there is compliance. There's a lot of focus on compliance, AML, CFT purposes. How do you onboard your customers? How do you segregate your accounts? So, let me walk you through on the 5 classes of licenses. Let me start with the Class M license, which is the Virtual Assets Broker-Dealer license. With this license, you can exchange fiat currencies for virtual assets. That is, you can use your South African rand, your Mauritian rupee, your GBP, your USD, your euros, and to buy Bitcoin, for example. Or you can also use this broker-dealer license to exchange virtual assets for other virtual assets. For example, you can use, if you want to exchange Bitcoin for Ethereum, for example, this is the license appropriate for you. The minimum unstated unimpaired capital requirement is only 2 million rupees for the Class M license, which is around 700,000 rand. The second license that we have introduced is the Virtual Assets Wallet Services license. It's a wallet license, and you can use it to do transfers of virtual assets. You need to have a minimum working capital for at least 12 months for this license. Third, we have the Virtual Assets Custodian Services license. Essentially, it's a custody license. You use it for custody, but in the context of digital assets. The minimum unimpaired stated capital requirement is only 5 million rupees for the custody license, which is about 2 million rand. Very competitive. Fourth, we have the Virtual Assets Advisory Services license, where you can use this license to give advice and provision of financial services related to issuers' offer or sale of virtual assets. And last, we've got the Virtual Assets Marketplace license. This is an exchange license, similar to any exchange license, but of course in the context of virtual assets. And the minimum stated capital requirement is only 6.5 million rupees, just over 2 million rand. It can be a centralized or a decentralized platform. It can be in Mauritius or it can be in another jurisdiction as well. And you can use the exchange license to exchange fiat for virtual assets, for third party for a fee, a commission, or even spread. So, how do you apply for these licenses? Very simple. You apply for those licenses through the FSC, which is the regulator for non-banking and global business activities. We have introduced a new FSC1 platform. Everything is digital, paperless, so you submit all your application to the FSC1 platform. The requirements, you will need to submit your detailed business plan. What is your strategy? What is your 3-year financial forecast, your minimum stated capital requirements? And the beauty of this is you can use different structures. It can be a domestic company in Mauritius. It can be a global business license. It can be a trust, LPs, limited partnership, or societies as well. You will see there's a lot of focus on staffing requirements. Your board of directors needs to consist a minimum of 3 directors. 30% have to be independent, and 1 has to be resident in Mauritius. Of course, you will need the money laundering reporting officer and the deputy MLRO as well. For risk management, you will need to have very detailed and clear policies related to AML and CFT purposes, your cyber security policies, disaster recovery plan, etc. Well, this slide summarizes the 2 payment licenses that we have in Mauritius. They are very similar, the Payment Service Provider license and the Payment Intermediary Services license, PSP and PIS. The only difference is if you want to target the local market in Mauritius, you have to go for the PSP license, which is regulated by the central bank. Whereas for the PIS license is regulated by the FSC, and this you do not enter the local market, but you do your business from Mauritius, global business. A lot of the payment companies in Africa have the PIS license. Now, in addition to these virtual assets license and payment license, Mauritius, we have a wide range of different incentives and new licenses, whether it's global business, whether it is treasury management license, where you manage your treasury operations from Mauritius, whether you want to set up a global headquarters in Mauritius. But I felt that this one would be interesting in this conference. This is a new structure called the Variable Capital Company, and with this structure, it can accommodate multiple sub-funds or SPVs. Let me explain. So let's say tomorrow you want to invest in, you want to set up an open-ended fund. Let's say you want to buy stocks in the Indian market, for example, right? So you will apply for a CIS license, which is the Collective Investment Scheme. And you will need, your term sheet, your prospectus, your board of directors, your details about your custodian, and etc. And in addition to that, let's say you want to set up a second fund. You want to have a long-term investment in Africa. Let's say you want to invest in infrastructure project, right? A closed-ended fund. In Mauritius, it will be a PE fund. Now, again, you have to go through the whole process again to submit your application, wait for queries, etc. until you get your license. The beauty about the VCC structure is that with the VCC fund, you can accommodate multiple sub-funds all under one single structure. So what is the advantage of this VCC structure? Firstly, it's about cost efficiency. So instead of having three board of directors, three custodians, you can share the custodian, the board of directors, and the other services as well. Secondly, there is flexibility. You can add as many sub-funds as you want. And thirdly, it's about economies of scale. Economies of scale is a three-word sentence, but it means a lot, especially if you're a fund promoter that wants to create multiple sub-funds. The biggest advantage about the VCC is about the segregation of the assets and liabilities. So each sub-fund will be segregated and the assets and liabilities will be ring-fenced. That is, if tomorrow there's a court judgment on one of the sub-funds, it will not affect the other sub-funds. This is very interesting, especially if you're a VC fund and you have different investment strategies. Now, so yesterday we have received a lot of interest from the delegates in this conference who were asking about residency in Mauritius. How do you live in Mauritius? You're probably aware that Mauritius is a great tourist destination. In Mauritius, we are open for foreign talents. We are open for foreign nationals. We're an open economy. There are different schemes and incentives available if you want to live in Mauritius. How do you get a residency in Mauritius? You can invest in Mauritius. If you want to set up a business, very easy. You invest $50,000, you qualify for an occupational permit. Or you can also acquire a business for at least $50,000. You will qualify for an occupational permit. You can also work in Mauritius. And we have reduced the minimum salary requirement for the work visa. Acquiring our properties, very easy in Mauritius. We have seen a lot of people retiring in Mauritius now. We have excellent healthcare facilities in Mauritius. And a lot of people move to Mauritius because of the education facilities as well that we have. We have Curtin University from Australia that has set up a full-fledged campus. We also have universities from the UK. This is a new visa that we have introduced called the Premium Visa, and it has worked very well. It's mostly for digital nomads where you can come and live in Mauritius for 1 year. Of course, it is renewable. All you need is just an internet connection, and then you can work next to the beach. I think we have approved close to 3,600 visas for premium visas, and I understand that 20% of them are from South Africa. So thank you very much for your attention. Let us now together watch a short video clip on Mauritius.
Strategically anchored in the Golden Triangle linking Middle East, Asia and Africa, Mauritius is internationally acclaimed for its unique identity, that of being a node of excellence for your global investments. With its rich history and culturally diverse traditions, Mauritius is a leading financial powerhouse in the region, which offers a host of investment opportunities in various sectors. Over the years, Mauritius has consolidated its leadership position as a beacon of political, social and economic stability due to its strong institutional legal framework and regulatory environment, while maintaining the foundation for economic development. With intensive development occurring in different sectors, Mauritius is the land to invest in.
Donc Concentric, c'est une société internationale qui est implantée dans plusieurs pays. Et on a vu en Maurice une destination favorable. Pourquoi? Parce qu'elle respectait déjà toutes les règles en termes de contrat par rapport à nos clients. Et surtout aussi tout ce qui était technologie, tout ce qui est capacité en fait, de recrutement, tout ce qui est ressources existantes. Et spécialement sur aussi la langue, qui a un très bon niveau de langue, que ce soit au niveau du français ou au niveau de l'anglais. Donc ça a été très facile pour nous implanter et on n'avait qu'à y aller.
Allianz has been in the island since 2012, so we're looking forward for the 10th year anniversary next year. It's mostly the continuation of what we have been developing so far, which is an interesting growth story. We're continuing to expand our activities, mostly building into the skill sets of our people here, and conducting more value-added tasks for the insurance operations that we're covering across the globe.
Mauritius leads the region in terms of cross-border investments, offering an unparalleled, well-regulated and transparent platform to the international community. Boasting a diverse range of sophisticated financial products, Mauritius is positioned as being the best possible launchpad for conducting business activities, with a panoply of schemes offered. Africa being the next big economic frontier, Mauritius is at the heart of this transformation, growth and regional development in this changing pattern of global trade and finance. Mauritius plays a strategic role in attracting investments and promoting economic and social development and prosperity for and across Africa, with more than $80 billion of investment structured from Mauritius into Africa. As an island of inspiration to do business, Mauritius takes pride in its ease of doing business regime, whilst being ranked first in Africa in a number of prestigious accolades. This bears testimony to the tremendous progress the jurisdiction has made in becoming an inclusive and resilient economy. Today, Mauritius is a financial centre which adheres to all international norms and standards set by the OECD, the European Union, and the Financial Action Task Force in both tax and AML-CFT matters. Besides a thriving financial environment, Mauritius has a state-of-the-art infrastructure and technology, which are the key pillars to drive businesses forward. The island economy is internationally endorsed for being one of the most attractive and business-friendly jurisdictions in the world, for those seeking an exclusive lifestyle while doing business.
Thank you very much. We invite you to Mauritius, and probably Sonia will do the 10th conference of Africa Bitcoins in Mauritius next year. Thank you.